Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Russia, and this is yet another beer that my friend Hannah brought back with her to Sweden for me from her recent trip to Moscow. So a big thank you to her for making this review possible. This review is a little bit different though today because these guys don't actually have their own brewery. So they are a contract brewer, gypsy, nomad, phantom brewer, however you want to actually term them. There's so many terms for not having your own brewery these days, but they're meant to be pretty good actually. So for this one we are going to go to the Wild Lab Brewery, who are based mainly in the Moscow area, and this particular beer is a collaboration with the guys from Dogma Bottleshop, which is where this beer itself and the other ones were bought that you're seeing me review. So really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. Big thank you to the guys at Dogma for pointing Hannah towards some of these beers. So basically she went in and asked them, you know, my friend does YouTube beer videos, can you pick out a few beers that he should review for me? And he picked out two from Zagovor, one from AF Brew, I also picked out one from Stam Beer as well, and then this one. But when he gave her this one, he didn't really say very much about it. He just said, oh, he should review this beer, and then it is their collaboration that they've done with Wild Lab Brewing. So yeah, really curious to see how this turns out. My encounters with Russian craft beer before have been very, very positive. The little Russian beer festival that Malmö Brewing Company had back in 2016, there was some awesome beers there, and the beers that I've reviewed this time round as well have also been very, very good. So I hope that this is another one that kind of falls into that category. So really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, a New England IPA at 4.2% ABV. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from Wild Lab Brewery. Very first time I'm encountering one of their beers, of course. I'll also put a link down there to the Dogma Bottleshop because it's a collaboration with them, and it's also where it was bought. It's supposed to be an awesome shop, that, and I hope I can visit myself sometime soon. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Russian beers that I've reviewed for you so far, and I hope that I can continue to add to that regularly over the next kind of couple of years and months and whatever. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Wild Lab Brewery then, so on to my brewery notes. So Wild Lab Brewery, as I mentioned to you earlier, are one of the kind of numerous contract nomad gypsy brewers, whatever you want to call them, that can be found in Russia these days. But the brewery is owned by Dmitry and Mila Zayanchuk, and Dmitry does the brewing and Mila helps out a little bit with the business side of the company. But Dmitry had apparently first encountered craft beer when he was in the US, and then when he was sick from his work one time, he decided to use his spare time to homebrew. So he built up all of his equipment and then just started researching a lot of the different beers and things like that. When he actually got his beers brewed and let his friends and stuff try them, he got some very, very good feedback for them, and then he decided that he wanted to brew commercially. After a bit of a struggle to find somewhere to let him brew his beer, he eventually managed to secure some brewery space, and he produced his first beers at the end of 2016. As I told you before, many of these Russian craft breweries started up in sort of 2014, 2015, and it was when the Russian ruble, when the currency collapsed, and a lot of the imported beers became very, very expensive. So the Russians started to brew their own beers, and since then they've started to do some really, really good stuff. But one of the main challenges for this brewery, of course, has been that they need to find a regular place to actually brew their beers. So Dmitry has to move around a hell of a lot just to kind of have a good output. But as of September 2019, when I'm filming this review, they've produced over 50 different types of beers, and they've started to experiment with some sour beers this year as well, from what I understand. I also read in an article that they produced 30 odd different types of beer in their first full year of operating. So that is pretty damn impressive, I have to say. And I have seen a good few articles mentioning this brewery, so from what I understand they are pretty well respected actually. So yeah, pretty cool. And as I say, my first encounter with a sort of gypsy brewer in Russia, so hopefully I can try a few more of them at some point. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Wild Lab. As I say, quite a respected gypsy brewer in Moscow these days. A little bit about Dogma as well. So as I mentioned to you, Dogma are a bottle shop in Moscow. They opened back in 2016 and it's owned by Olga and Ruslan, who is good friends with the guys at the Zhagovor Brewery. So they kind of consider themselves as the Zhagovor bottle shop, if you like. But they've won quite a few awards and they're widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, beer shops in Russia. So I really hope that I can get to Russia myself at some point and have a little look at it. It's a country that I'd love to visit. I think the history of the place is fascinating, very, very turbulent, and all the Russians that I've met have been a little bit crazy, but also very, very nice people. So it's somewhere that I really do hope that I can visit at some point in the future. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Wild Lab Brewing and the Dogma Bottleshop. Like I said at the start of the video, the links to both of those will be on the will be in the video description below the video itself. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So just a little thing about the artwork on this beer. These guys that are standing up, these two are the owners. This is Olga and Ruslan of the Dogma Bottleshop, and this is Ilya and Vasily, who are two of the workers there. And a big thank you to Ilya actually, because he gave me some of the information about this beer and things like that. So a big thank you to him for replying to my email. And this guy kind of chilling on the chair here, that is Dmitry Zayanchuk, who of course is the brew guy at Wild Lab Brewery. So yeah, by the looks of this beer, I'm guessing that this one may well have been brewed at Zhagovor, because I'm sure the ones that I had from Zhagovor had this same stamp on the top. So I've got a feeling that this is where this beer may well have been brewed. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. You can see there's not actually a Wild Lab symbol on this one. It just says Wild Lab up in the corner of the beer here. I'm not sure how well you're going to see that. So yeah, I don't know if they really have their own kind of brewery symbol, if you like, but their artwork that I've seen on the other beers seems to be really nice. You can see there, it is a very nicely presented beer. And up in, it's the other corner, there you can see the symbol for the Dogma Bottleshop. Like I said, widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best, beer shops in Russia. So yeah, go and check that out if you find yourself in Moscow. But nicely presented beer, this one. It is a half-litre can, 500 millilitres. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. I'm really curious to see how this turns out. And as I say, it's quite cool to try some of these. I don't know if this one is going to be a New England, but the New England IPAs that I've tried from Russia so far, you know, this is a New England. The New England IPAs and stuff that I've tried from Russia so far have all been really, really quite nice. I hope that I can try some West Coast IPAs and some black IPAs and stuff like this at some point too. But generally, the standard of the Russian beers tends to be very, very good in my experience. Like I said, my first encounter with the Russian beers was back in 2016 when Malma Brewing Company had their little Russian beer festival, which was awesome. And I'm sure I met the guys from Zhagovor and also Stanbeer, and there was a brewery from out by Katerinburg or something like that. I think Jaws Brew, something like that. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, this one's poured a lovely, bright, hazy yellow. That's, you know, that's very, very hazy. I mean, if you consider that this beer is a pale ale rather than like a double IPA or something, this one's got the same level of haze to it as some of the double IPAs that I've seen. So that's quite impressive. But yeah, definitely leaning towards the yellow end of the spectrum in terms of colour. It looks very, very nice. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. If I stick my fingers behind the glass, there you can see the level of haziness in this beer. And the head, incidentally, I would say it's quite a foamy head, but a little bit bumpy, and I would say that it's maybe about a half finger of a frothy, yeah, pure white head on this one. It's not even like creamy or anything like that. Definitely a sort of pure white head on this beer. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Nothing surprising about this beer in terms of the appearance when you consider it's an American pale ale. Obviously it's one from the New England variety. So yeah, let's have a look at the aroma. Ooh, that smells really nice. Right, I'm interested in what hops are in that. I've got a feeling that one might be a Galaxy and Citra. Either that or it's a Simcoe and Citra. So yeah, straight away with this aroma, you get a lot of passion fruit out of it. And I'm really not sure whether to say it's Galaxy or whether it's Simcoe. I want to say it's Galaxy. I always like playing guess the hops with these beers. But yeah, it's got a lovely, juicy, fruity quality to it, this one. So for me, Straight away with this beer you're going to get a lovely kind of passion fruity quality, and it's more of a milky passion fruit, and that's where my confusion kind of comes from as to whether it's Simcoe or whether it's Galaxy. I've always found that Galaxy is a little bit more pungent and punchy, and it has a bit more complexity to it than Simcoe in my experience, but Simcoe is more of a kind of milky, sort of creamy passion fruit, you know, and it's got a little bit of both. It could be Simcoe and Galaxy that they've got in here, right enough, but I doubt that, to be honest. But yeah, lovely, juicy passion fruity notes in there, some mangoes, a little bit of a kind of pineapple-y and apricot-y quality to the beer as well. The mangoes are really making me think that there's a bit of citra in here, but really the passion fruits are more prominent, I think, so I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't Simcoe or Galaxy. But yeah, lovely big juicy tropical fruity nose, this one. Has it got a bit of orange? Could there be a bit of mosaic or something in there? But yeah, the aroma of this beer is lovely. Lots of juicy tropical fruits. There's maybe a little bit of a lychee kind of gooseberry type note just on the end of the beer too. But really, this one, in terms of New England IPAs, it really leans towards the fruity, juicy end of the spectrum. And it's the way the fruits come out in this beer is very, very nice. That's lovely. In terms of the green side of the hops, I would say that this beer leans towards the grassy side of things. It doesn't have too much in the way of a floral quality, it's definitely leaning a little bit more towards that grassy end of the spectrum. In terms of the malt base, I would say that this beer, you can pick up a nice little bit of a smooth white bready quality in there. Some of the oaty creaminess is coming out too, and I think there is a little bit of a biscuity quality to the beer as well, but overall it's a really juicy, smooth and slightly sweet New England Pale Ale, this one. I really like how everything is going together in this beer. It smells very, very nice. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. That smells really, really good. Very, very juicy, fresh smelling New England IPA. I just noticed something on the can there as well. I'm not sure if this is the actual brewery symbol for Wild Lab, that little coin. I just noticed that on the side of the artwork there. Maybe that is the symbol for Wild Lab. So I apologise if I told you a lie earlier that there wasn't a symbol for Wild Lab on the can. I think I might have told you a lie there, so my apologies. But let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Stoned Raiders, a collaboration beer between Wild Lab, a sort of gypsy contract brewer from the Moscow area, and Dogma Bottleshop, one of the best bottle shops in all of Russia. So let's get stuck in. Slanja, skål, na zdravie. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you something, I wasn't expecting that. This beer has a really quite good bite to it when you take it in. I thought this was going to be a sort of, the two other IPAs that I've tried so far in this New England category from Russia, they've been very, very smooth and very light and easy drinking. This one has a hell of a bite to it, and I like that actually. That's really nice. Big thumbs up to Wild Lab and Dogma for this. They've pulled off a really quite nice beer here. I wasn't expecting that big bite that this beer has. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's coming from the yeast, or whether they've used a little bit of like melanoidin malt or acidified malt or something. I think it's more likely to be melanoidin malt that they've used in this, to be honest. But yeah, that's really quite nice actually. So thumbs up to both the bottle shop and to the Wild Lab Brewery for this one. Let's see if we can get the rest of it in here. Just watch that the head doesn't go crazy. But yeah, this is an awesome. I keep wanting to say IPA. This is an awesome Pale Ale. This one, New England Pale Ale. Done a great job of it. So yeah, where to start with this beer then? What you're going to notice at the beginning is that the middle of your palate, it is just blanketed with that nice white bready quality. I'm not sure if it's quite wheaty, but it's definitely got a nice kind of pale malty white bready quality to it. But you'll notice as soon as you take this beer on your tongue, it does have a nice citricy bite to it, and it's not tart or anything like that. It just has a really nice kind of bite to it when you take it in. Yeah, that's really, really good. I like that. But what you'll notice on top of that kind of pale malty base that it has, there's a nice sort of creamy oaty quality pushes its way out of the beer. In the very centre of your palate, you do get a little bit of a slightly biscuity note, but it's quite minimal, to be honest. This beer really comes across as being quite smooth in its malt base and then quite creamy on top, but you can feel the sort of wheaty elements just pushing their way out of the beer the later on, the further you go into the aftertaste. You do get a little bit of pungency out of the wheat in this beer, which I think is really quite nice. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you try it. It really does have a little bit of an almost astringent quality to the you know, to the malt base. I really like how that. I really like this one, how it goes together. This one, you know, for 4.2%. The other thing that's very impressive with this beer is just how much flavour it packs. I mean, this beer, it doesn't really do anything surprising with the New England Pale Ale style, but it just does it very, very well. And I mean, with the number of New England IPAs and things that are out there these days, you know, you can't really ask for much more than that. This is just a very, very well crafted beer, and it does make me want to try some of the other things from Wild Lab. So hopefully I can do that in the future actually. Hopefully I see these guys at one of the beer festivals somewhere. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, back corners of the palate, there's maybe a tiny little bit of earthiness there, but that's very, very minimal. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you get a nice, slightly spicy floral aromaticity out of the beer, and then round the front curve of the palate, it's just that little bit lighter and grassy. Then behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you start to get the fruity notes out of the beer. But this one, as I say, for 4.2%, the amount of flavour that's packed into this beer is really quite impressive. Yeah, I really quite like that. On the fruity side of things then, as I always say, you get that nice oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue, and that's where the juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. And for me, again, this one is kind of what I was expecting. I do think it's probably more likely to be Galaxy that's in this one. I think probably this is a Galaxy and Citra Pale Ale, this one. But if you go to the back of that oily bubble behind the front of your tongue, there's a little bit of that kind of slightly darker grapefruity note there, but that's quite minimal. As you come further forward, definitely more passion fruity. Beyond that, it's a little bit more kind of mangoey. And then you also have some... you've also got some limey and lychee qualities. If you just go behind the very front part of the tongue there, you've got some sort of lychee. Yeah, I don't think it's quite lime. You've got a good little bit of a kind of gooseberry note coming out of this beer too, but those come out a bit further into the aftertaste, in fairness. Yeah, definitely kind of gooseberry, sort of lychee quality there. Then behind it, you've got a little bit of a kind of, there's almost a wee bit of a kind of peachy apricot note to this beer just behind that too, but then mangoes, passion fruits, and then grapefruit at the very back of that oily bubble. But overall, like I said, the thing that's really impressive about this beer is the amount of flavour that they've packed in for just 4.2%. That's what really strikes me about this one. So big thumbs up to Wild Lab and to Dogma for this beer. It doesn't do anything surprising, but it's just very, very well crafted in my mind. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say that this beer is, I think it's at the bottom end of mid-bodied. Yeah, definitely a kind of mid-bodied New England Pale Ale, this one, at the bottom end of mid-bodied. Carbonation's very, very smooth. The interesting thing about this beer is that it still does have that same kind of wetness as I noticed from the likes of Stam beer and Jagovor. It really has that kind of wetness in its mouthfeel, and that's an interesting thing. I'm starting to notice that that's a trend with these Russian New England IPAs. Granted, all the ones I've tried have come from the Moscow region, so maybe it's just something with that particular area, but the IPAs from Moscow all seem to have this very clean, wet mouthfeel, which is interesting, and it's surprising that, because I mean, it's I would have thought that the Russians would have been into the nice, big, kind of thick beers and stuff like this, but they do seem to like their IPAs very light, wet and drinkable, so it's interesting to notice little trends like this when you try beers from different countries, but this one is definitely thicker than the ones I've had from Stam Beer or from Jagovor. So this one is definitely a little bit thicker than those. In terms of hoppy bitterness then, I would say we're talking about maybe 40 IBUs with this beer. As I say, you get a little bit of it from the citricy quality that comes into this beer at the beginning. So there's a good bit of bitterness to this one, but it might be less than that in fairness, because I guess you wouldn't really count that citricy bite that the beer has as IBUs. Yeah, no, I'm probably telling you lies. I don't think it's 40 IBUs. I think it's more likely to be about 25. Because that citricy bite wouldn't count as the IBUs. But I do think there's a bit of that melanoidin malt in the middle of the palate too, kind of sitting over the pale malty base. So yeah, the malt base has a good balance between being smooth, having a little bit of that kind of citricy sharpness to it. And then later on in the flavour you notice some of the wheaty kind of astringency pushing its way out of the beer, which is really interesting. But the malt base mainly leans towards the smooth side of things, but it becomes a little bit creamier in the aftertaste too. A little bit of hoppy bitterness there, as I said, about 25 IBUs, and some lovely juicy fruity notes that linger into the aftertaste as well. But overall, a really interesting beer. This one definitely thicker than the other sort of New England type beers that I've had from Russia so far, but another one that's just absolutely packed with flavour in it, 4.2%. I think you would struggle actually to find a beer that's a New England IPA or whatever, New England Pale Ale, that's got more flavour in it than that. I think they've done an awesome job with it, so big thumbs up to the guys at Wild Lab for this, and to Dogma Bottleshop as well. As I say, hopefully I can go and visit Dogma at some point in the fairly near future. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. This one is the Stoned Raiders, a collaboration between Wild Lab, who are a sort of gypsy nomad brewer from the Moscow area, and Dogma Bottleshop, who are widely regarded as one of the best bottle shops in the whole of Russia. You can find them in Moscow as well. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this beer. It's been cool to review this one for you. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Wild Lab as well. I'm sure I'll visit Dogma at some point soon. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys later. A huge thank you again to Hannah for making this review possible. I hope you've enjoyed it. But until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Hopefully we can see some more Russian beer reviews on the channel sometime soon. Slanja, skål, na zdravie.